what's up, guys? He said, yes. I was like, okay, cool. Before talking about the ticketing app thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think, well, that day, I was like my third video or so. And by the time we got working, just every day, it's been growing. The momentum, the staying consistent and making a video every day. It's like part of our mantra that I'm telling, the followers how to do this, how to get out there, network, and make stuff happen, staying consistent with that momentum, practicing what we preach.
Yeah.
And here we are, shooting our first podcast.
Yeah. And, it's funny how the momentum builds. Even the fact that we're in this room is because we placed on the podcast.
Mm.
I mean, in the contest.
Mm-hmm.
So, everything, successes kind of build as we go.
So, talking about Build Weekend, how'd you come up with the idea for Jet?
Oh, man. So I can't really turn off ideas. I've been making software forever. And, I guess about 14 years ago, I had my own company making apps back when Angry Birds just came out. I saw Angry Birds and I was like, I can do that. So then ever since then, I've had idea after idea of entrepreneurial ideas while working, other things. So this was just one of them. It was I think, a pretty powerful idea using cool new technology that we could really make progress on in a weekend. And that's kind of what my criteria for a startup weekend project was. Something that sounds fun to work on, but also you can make really cool progress, in that really tight timeline. So it didn't have too many features.
Man, I've been having companies reach out and ask me about the pricing and how does it work.
Yeah.
So I'm like, just, to be continued. I'm
Yeah.
going to have to get back to you on that. But
It's
coming.
viable, I think. I think, one of the things in the pitch when I was pitching it to the, on the Discord for the weekend, is that I have 2 WordPress sites that just kind of sit dormant. So if I had that AI help, it would really help fill it with content that I think would be high quality. That's a big thing, because you can go to ChatGPT
Right.
and have it write a blog post that sounds like the average of the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't really want that. We want personality. We want authenticity. And that's where that idea of the personas came in. So, yeah.
Yep. So be on the lookout for Jet with 2 T's.
Jet with 2 T's, because 2 T's means it's faster.
Yep.
Yeah.
So getting back to momentum, how it always starts from something small and build, we can talk about the first hackathon that we were a part of.
In the summer, yeah.
You know, it was the summertime, and the crazy thing to talk about that, the reason why I went to that hackathon was people who our followers know that I was a member of 100 Devs. Mm-hmm. It's a free online boot camp led by Lionel, and on one of his lessons, our homework was to go to hackathons and to go to meetups specifically. And so I looked them up and talked to Hunter about starting one.
Mm-hmm.
But then Hunter told me that Jake was planning one, so I might as well just hop on with that.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was just a WordPress, not knowing any code at all, really. But I still decided to just kind of throw myself in there. And I locked myself in that telephone booth because I was scared to ask questions. And I was a part of the mobile team, the mobile side. And, I think Isaiah was like, you know how to manage state? I was like, yeah, sure, I do. Just looking it up and just trying as hard as I can. I learned so much that weekend. And that was the first one, which we ended up winning.
Yeah.
I might have got carried a little bit.
Yeah.
But we ended up winning.
Your team won? That was cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And then developing that relationship closer with Hunter and Jake.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty much as close as you could be with staff. I mean, as a member of staff, minus the paycheck. But I'm right there. So when it came time for us to do the real edition, since that was the beta, this was the first one.
Yep.
I came up with ideas of improvements that we could make upon the mixer.
Yeah. How'd you do that?
Because I'm also a member of Social Supply. I don't think I've shared that yet on my YouTube, but Social Supply is a company that was started by friends of mine. One of the best photographers in town, and one of the coolest models in town, his girlfriend. And because of their synergy, they're able to have a core, cool group of people around them.
Yeah.
And it's kind of blown up since then. And so everything that they ever do sells out. They have the line going around the corner. I think Halloween at Peabody's, we sold 400 pre-sale tickets.
Wow.
Before it even started.
Yeah.
So I've always been trying to think of how to bridge that gap, because when I say a party crowd, it's not like ignorant party. You're not college drunk type of people. This is more like, industry, like fashion type of model, runway type of people.
Yeah.
And within there's a lot of creativity. There's a lot of entrepreneurs. There's a lot of talent.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
there were a lot of music people, a lot of artists, a lot of creative types that, when you mix that with nerds, you get really cool things.
Exactly. Exactly. Because I experienced from the first hackathon how there's a lot of developers, but not a lot of the creative, I can't code, but I'm bringing the cool type of people.
Yeah. And
when I think about company, we all are always going to need logos. You're always going to need personality and like project management, customer research.
And taste.
Yeah,
right?
taste.
Taste is something that, you can't just build in. It's got to be kind of given to the project, right? The people who are putting it together have to have good taste. And that's as we get into the AI era, I think that's going to be the big differentiator for good software is taste, because the building is getting easier and easier. But that taste, that flavor that you bring to your projects, no one can copy that, right?
Right. So we have that one side, and I figured the mixer was the perfect chance to bring the build.
Yeah.
Build the bridge together of the two. With it being mixers, kind of party-ish a little bit, and then we had a panel. We had, I think it was like over 200 people probably in and out, probably 150 at once. I think when we went to speak on the panel, Hunter said he did a head count, and it was like 150 people in there.
Wow.
And it was awesome. And being that, it was kind of my idea to have that, and we really had to fight for it and get it to happen. And then with it being such a success, there's that momentum that just
fed it into the weekend. There were people that were just coming to the mixer that actually stayed for the weekend. Right. I think that was really cool.
Compared to the first one, this was like a times 10 or so, 5
I think
10.
Definitely when you talk energy, and like 4 or 5 times people, but the energy was just different this time.
Yeah, the food.
Yeah, every day.
First time we had Pop-Tarts and Red Bulls.
Yeah.
Pop-Tarts and Red Bulls.
Yeah.
So super looking forward to the next one of that.
It's just fun to watch things grow like that. Like the first one was put on by a core group of like 3 people, just because they wanted to make it happen, right? And then that grew from the beta to a dozen people. And that, bringing in the Social Supply, we did a little bit more recruiting on college campuses to bring people in.
Right.
So the number of teams grew like by 4, a factor of 4, right? So we had like 5 or 6 the first time, I think. We've had almost 20 this time. But that momentum just kind of feeds itself, and it's really fun to watch. Also with like your YouTube,
Right.
You started that right before the weekend.
Yep.
And we saw it kind of growing during the weekend, which was fun to watch. But it just continues to grow. But it started out with just one post, right? You just decided, I'm going to do this as long as it takes.
Yep. And it's crazy. I was inspired by that movie that I keep talking about, The Book of Clarence. You guys can look it up if you want to see it. But it's funny, in the movie, I was watching the movie, and there's a part of the movie where he has a light bulb show up over his head, and he decides that he's going to try something to change his life, to change his situation. And I'm sitting there in the movies by myself. I went by myself, snuck away and went to see this movie because he's my favorite actor. And at the same time, I had that idea, like, I'm going to shoot a YouTube. I'm start a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
It didn't. I was honest in that first one. Wasn't really aiming to grow and become a real YouTuber or anything like that. But still, I knew I had it in me to, try and talk to people and tell my story. And I know that I have a story to tell just because of how I was able to do this, with nothing, really. Like, no CS degree, no boot camp. I am learning a lot that I'm not the only one. There's a lot of people, apparently, who have done that. Like Paul and others that you know.
Yeah, a lot of people I know 10 years into their career now. So it's just a different path. It's not an easier path. It's not a harder path. It's a different path. You still got to work at it just as much as getting a college degree. Yeah,
we're all working at it.
Yeah, everybody's working. And that's the thing with software that's probably different than most professions, like if you're a drywaller, it's a lot of work, but you've pretty much learned the trade 2 or 3 years in and know everything, right? They don't invent, well, maybe they do, but they don't constantly invent new things to the point where you can't learn everything being invented. Where in software, there's a revolution constantly, and we're about to hit or part of this bigger revolution with AI. But things constantly change, and you're constantly learning, or you're going to be irrelevant, right? So there's that and that's why software is so hard, but it's also why it's so valuable.
Right.
It's because you can constantly learn to be more effective and more powerful.
I think that people can trap themselves with the analysis paralysis and what they imagine it to be when they're there, and let imposter syndrome hold them back from being put on the spot and having their weaknesses apparent. But one thing that I can say from experience is that we all had ChatGPT open on our thing.
They were coding that room with us, and on our team we had some really stout talent. We had I'd been coding for 20 years. Lee's been coding longer than I have. And then Paul has been for about 8 years now, right? Maybe more, closer to 10.
Yep. Jacob, I think, was 8.
Yeah, that's it. Anyway, like, it's important and that's why I love hackathons, because you get to see that we're mortal, but you also get to see how awesome it is that even with that, we still were able to make something great in those few days
together.
But it's also like these old guys still have to do ChatGPT and figure things out, or they're Googling it, and then they're asking more questions, and then they try it out, and that didn't work, and then they keep going, and they fiddle, and then they get excited when it works.
Yeah, I think maybe it's the movies or something that give a wrong impression.
Where you've always got the hacker in the closet, and they're just typing away.
And everything's working perfect.
Yeah, it's not how it works.
Yeah, so I think that's going to be good for us to show people that, that the perception is a little bit different than the experience of being a developer, and you can almost expect something to go wrong, I'm sure.
Yeah. The way I describe it to friends is my job is mostly when you're writing software, it's solving puzzles all day.
Right.
If you're the kind of person that likes to solve puzzles, this might be the career for you, because you've got certain things you know what you want, and you're just trying to put the pieces together to build what you want, right? And it is kind of like, Frozen, like the Disney movie where the Anna's like, do the next best thing. That's what you got to do. You just got to focus and do the next best thing. Do what's the next step.
Right.
Because there's so much you don't know, and that never goes away. This is the trick. It never goes away.
It's all, just get used to that.
It won't go away.
Just get used
if
to
you
that.
if you can't deal with that, maybe find something else. But you just do the next best thing for your problem you're trying to solve, and then you'll get there. And then caring about quality is something we all do too. But you can also be a perfectionist, and that doesn't get you anywhere either.
Right. I feel like with dealing with errors, I have to turn into a bit of a detective.
Yeah.
Sometimes,
Yeah.
and follow the clues. Like, okay, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You know, let's see. What is this saying?
What's the error message say?
Mm-hmm.
What's the debugger? Like, when's it happen?
Yep.
All those kinds of things. Yeah. So, yeah, back onto the momentum. And I've seen this in several of my projects. How do you get, something big to happen? It always starts just like the hackathon did, with somebody saying, I'm going to make this happen. And then consistent effort. And Steve Covey has a book, 7 Habits. It's an old one, but that doesn't make it any less good. And he talks about this shape of a target, right? Like a darts kind of thing.
Is that the 7 Habits of Highly
Effective People?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And imagine a target, and there's circles, and in the middle is the red dot. That's you. And you can control your behaviors, right? So that's the only way you can change the world, is controlling you and what you do, right? And then right around that inner circle, those are the people you influence the most, the people you hang around the most. And they can, to some extent, influence you, but you also can influence them. And your behaviors impact them, and it kind of spreads out. And what you'll find if you look at really effective people as they progress in their career is they're really good at managing their habits and inspiring the people around them, so that they can then have their impact kind of flow out in waves. And that's momentum, right? And on YouTube, we can see it even faster, which is really crazy. You hit some kind of like a chord with people, and they resonate, and the waves of the things you're putting out into the universe just kind of magnify. It's crazy. It's awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
Super thankful for the support, the messages, the comments,
so cool.
from everyone.
Yeah. And places like this, like you've mentioned it in a few videos, having a place to come,
right,
to meet those people, and just, humanity's kind of had the idea that place is important for forever. You just look at the cathedrals in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
They built them because they knew people need beautiful places, or places to come together, town squares.
Mm-hmm. It's like, if you build it, they will come.
Yeah. Well, I think that's part of it, but like, there is some piece of creativity where we need to bounce ideas off each other and make things better. And software is just a creative thing, and maybe we'll do a show on creativity. Mm-hmm. I'd love to, but like, it's just, it's the idea that iron sharpens iron, right? I've got an idea. We went into the idea this weekend with with Jet. What's it going to be like? And we definitely refined it over the weekend. It became something way cooler than when we started. Mm-hmm. So I think, the people you hang out with, the place that you choose to be at,
right.
getting out of your shell, getting out from behind your laptop, going and talking and sharing and making things happen. It's good for companies. It's also good for, new developers.
Right. That is a crucial part of the journey, and the message that I've been trying to shed to get people, because I know that we all can be a little introverted sometimes, and that what we just want to do is just take our course, our online class, and apply to the website, get hired, to get an interview, get hired,
now,
and go to work.
Could you do that? Possibly you could. Is it the most efficient path? I'd argue probably not, right? So you probably could, but it might take longer. It's going to be the harder road. Mm-hmm. More
competition.
Because really what we're doing when we get out and we make connections with people, we're expanding our surface area for luck, right? How if you think about what you're doing in a day, how many opportunities does luck have to strike you and make your day 100 times better, right? And if you're not meeting new people, your odds of that happening are lower. Yeah, if you're sitting in your basement coding, you might get really good at coding, but that opportunity for luck and serendipity aren't going to happen.
Yep, exactly. Because if we, going back to the first hackathon, my team lead, Isaiah, who he ended up being the one sitting with me on my interview for my first position.
Yeah.
So if I had never stepped out of my comfort zone and went to that hackathon, I would have never gotten so close to Isaiah.
It's like a sliding doors moment.
Yeah. And then when they asked me, okay, I was honest in my interview. I said, I'll be one hell of a member of the team, but I'm not sure if I would be the right lead for this team. I don't want to, lead you guys astray. Mm-hmm. And they said, okay, well, fine. Who do you know anybody you can bring? And I said, you damn right I do.
That's awesome.
We won the hackathon together.
Yeah.
So I brought,
and that's the strongest endorsement. When you talk about needing endorsements, it's really just people saying this guy can do what he says he can do, or this woman can do what she says she can do. Working together is a great place to actually know that, because you spend, like in a hackathon, we spend a whole weekend together just getting to know capabilities, but really everyone hires for attitude, right? And that's what we really get. Right. You get to gauge how people deal with adversity and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's cool. But I do think your listeners could use that hack to kind of generate momentum themselves. The people, the place, just like you've been saying on the other videos. Yep,
I've been getting a lot of messages about that hitting home, and about that being a bit of okay, right, true, good point. Mm-hmm. So let's do some nerd words here.
Nerd words, okay, yeah, we're gonna do this segment where, and if you have ideas, go to the school and give us the words you want defined, and I'll try to define them, and if it still doesn't make sense, let me know. Anyway, the words today are algorithm, Boolean, and abstraction. Some scary sounding words. Mm-hmm. But if you think about it, an algorithm is just nerd speak for a recipe, right? And it's just a way of explaining the steps to do a certain kind of problem. And the reason they're important, not so important for web dev, because most of the time in web dev, your code is running for one user, right? So you're in the client, which means you're running things in the browser. Mm-hmm. And, and honestly, the browsers are so fast these days, barely matters, whether your algorithm's inefficient or not. That's why we can do cool things like React. But if you're working with very large data sets, the algorithms matter a lot more, because the way you go about solving a problem can have a huge impact on the performance, right? So if you're sorting something that's got 10 items in a list, the way you do it is probably not a big deal. But if that list grows to 10 million, all of a sudden, and you have to wait milliseconds for every time it's trying to do something, then the way you do things really matters. And that's why people care about algorithms, is because you can speed up your program. But at its essence, though, the algorithm is just the recipe you're using. And just like you can have different recipes for mac and cheese, you can have different algorithms that do sorting, and each have pluses and minuses, just like, my mom's mac and cheese has different pluses and minuses than Cracker Barrel's, those kinds of things.
How many different ways would you say there is to write a sorting algorithm?
Well, there's famous ones like bubble sort, and there's all kinds. You can just look them up. And the important thing to realize is, for certain application, and that's the thing, like when you're talking to a senior developer, the most common answer you're going to get is, well, it depends, right? Mm-hmm. And it is. It just depends on what you're trying to solve, what the context of the problem is, so that you can pick the right tool for the right problem.
Right.
If you're in the client and the biggest list you're going to do is 10, then you want to optimize for a developer, right? What's the easiest thing to understand? Mm-hmm. If it's 10 million and a batch process that runs every minute or something, then you have to optimize so that things like memory access and stuff are are important. So it really just depends on the context of the problem and picking the right tool. But then once you understand that there's different mac and cheese recipes, you pick the right one for the right situation. That's algorithms, right?
Right.
So let's move on to Boolean, right? So Boolean is, there was a mathematician, I think, named Boole, and he came up with, we count on our fingers base 10, right? Because we have 10 fingers. So 1, 2, 3, each one. And then when we get to 10, we start over again, 11, 12, 13, 14. Boolean's like, wait a minute, you can just do that with ones and zeros. So you can go 0, 1, so that's 0 and 1, and then you can move a place just like the tens place, and then you can do it again, except the tens place is the twos place, and you've got this idea of counting by 2. It's great when you're using computers because on and off, right? So it maps really beautifully into that. And there's a whole kind of math called Boolean math, Boolean algebra, that's really efficient on circuit boards, right? But we could take that same concept. There's also really great things about Boolean is that it's 2 states. You can check it, and right away it's very efficient. So for computer science, we want to see if something's true or not, right? So you could have a variable that's a Boolean, like, is the user logged in, and that kind of thing. So it's either yes or no. And then you can also kind of map that in an if statement. So if the user is logged in, then do this. So then it becomes very easy and readable. And you don't have to check all the different edge cases or like map a string into a true or false statement. You just got a Boolean that's always true or false.
Yeah, so that is part of what I also try to tell people, that to just relax and read the code, and once you know the language, once you can recognize an if statement and a function and an object and a Boolean, once you have gotten to that point, you should be able to sort out in your head what's going on here, almost like reading a book. But I look at us as interpreters between English and computer.
Right.
And
it is. You're mapping concepts. And I'd argue, like, the 9 times out of 10, better code is more readable code. Compilers and the systems we work on, the giants that we stand on, have gotten very good at turning, what could be inefficient, looking at it because it's human readable, very high level code, into very efficient code that runs on the machine. So 9 times out of 10, maybe 99 times out of 100, when you're opting for, do I do it one way or the other, ask the programmer next to you, what's more readable to you? What makes more sense?
Sure.
That's where we should go, because one of the most expensive things in software is developer time. Right. So we want to make things easy for our heads to wrap around, so that we can get more done, so that we can deliver more features and make people happier with our software.
I think that certain people might argue that, though, because I do see sometimes online people say, like, oh, these React developers don't know,
they do
how to code in binary.
They do. And I think that's naivety. And I think you'll see as you go through your career, the expensive mistakes are ones that hide, right? And they hide because the code is hard to understand, right? And if you've got, as your projects grow, they get more and more valuable because they've got more and more brain power invested. Software is just crystallized thought, right? And as your software grows, it gets more and more valuable, but it also, because it's more valuable, breaking gets more and more expensive, right? So if you've got something that's making you money and it's making you, $1 a day, that's great. But if it's making you $10,000 a day, it goes down for a day, that's costing you $10,000.
Man, software is crystallized thought. I've never thought about that, but it really is. And from multiple people, just input. Adding to it. That is super interesting.
It is. Want to go on to abstraction? Okay. So abstraction is a core concept. It's an awful word because it's so abstract. So the idea of abstraction is hiding complexity behind a name. And I think that's the core of it, right? So one concept I think you could get is like you get into your car, right? You turn it on, you want to go forward, you hit the accelerator. Most people call it the gas pedal. I think it's a good thing to talk about, but a good software engineer would call it the accelerator. Why? Because you push it and the car goes, right? You don't really have to know how the car goes, or that it puts gas into the engine, the engine goes and turns the transmission turns the differential turns the axles, and you go. You don't have to know that. You just have to know, I push the pedal, it goes. And that's actually a very valuable thing, because our brains can only hold about 7 ideas in short-term memory. So we need to collapse complexity so that we can build things effectively. So basically, it allows us to hide information and still use it. So good abstraction comes up with things like the accelerator pedal, or like ways to hide that complexity, you know?
Right. I really love that idea, because, and I do agree that for, you know, hey, if something goes wrong, that's when you call the expert to come fix it.
Yeah.
And I feel like the only way for us to really propel software forward and to propel the world forward is to let everyone stand on top of the shoulders of the past, and to make things, you know, easier to do for the new developers coming in. Now, I'm trying to promote being lazy and, you know, not really, like, always try to learn and do better, but also build with what you have, with these tools that we have, like React and Vercel and all these frameworks on top of languages, on top of frameworks are there, so that we can now get busy and get our ideas there quicker. And, you know, when the house is burning down, call the fire department. You know, the guys who have that, you know, knowledge.
Right. But sometimes the fire department is you, which is fine, right? So if you've got an abstraction and you set it up well, and you find that something's not working underneath and you need to go a layer deeper, the idea is that even at that layer deeper, you could still be the expert on that. But the abstraction then holds the complexity of the user, the other thing that was using it, away from you, so you can focus on the problem. It's all about chunking problems into smaller bits. And then if you keep going, you'll get to something like React or something. The real value of that, though, is like, because everybody's using a common framework, they're really good. And you rarely find like, oh, this is a bug in React, right? And if you do, there's an opportunity, man. Go fix that bug in React, and you know, then you can say I'm a core committer in React. You know, but I doubt you'll be able to find one. Yeah. So those are the nerd words. If you have more, let us know. We'll be doing these, you know, architect and builder thing weekly. I hope.
Let's do three nerd words a week.
Yeah. Do you want to do a portfolio review?
Yep. This is from one of our followers, Cruz. Shout out to you for being the first one,
Jose,
submitting your portfolio. So I'm gonna go ahead and refresh so we can get a fresh look at this.
Nice animation.
Yep, nice little slide down animation. He's got his logo up here in the top left, in the header, Cruz, home, about, contact. Hi there with the little wave hand. We see that on a lot of profiles. I think that, you know, that's impressive. It's moving, as you can see.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, my name is Jose Cruz. I'm an inspiring web developer based in Ventura County. How do you feel about this intro statement?
The opening, like, really great. The just how polished it looks, really neat. The things that jump out, if I'm trying to figure out, you know, am I going to hire this person? First thing, you built this thing. You're not aspiring anymore. Right. I'm a web developer.
Yes.
But dude, like, it'd be great to see your face on this. I know you showed it. We kind of previewed this earlier. It's down below the fold, but your face above the fold would be awesome. Yep. That picture's really pretty. And then what kinds of things do you like building? And you could tailor that if you've got a client that you're going after, you know, quickly add the things that sound like what the client does on there. But give us, web developer, you could be doing anything from games to financial apps to mapping, or who knows, you could do anything, which is really, really broad. So I would try to, if there's
Niche
something you
down a
really
bit.
like, talk
Mhm.
about that.
Right. So remove aspiring and
Definitely.
zoom in.
Zoom
on
in,
what
yeah.
you're really aiming for.
Yeah.
And then I see that this must be React, because when you click that, it takes you straight to the about me.
It doesn't
about
have to
me.
be. You can do that with JavaScript or CSS.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it's a nice template.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a template or if he built it. Yeah, cool about me.
More about me.
Again, aspiring. You don't need that. You're a developer.
Yeah, right. Automotive mechanic with a passion for technology and a strong desire to transition into the world of development. So yeah, that's kind of saying that you're not there yet. While I excel in diagnosing and fixing vehicles, my enthusiasm for coding and problem solving has fueled my journey to become
That's
an
awesome.
aspiring developer. That is a dope story to have. But maybe as you build more things, okay, we have resume, his languages here. So, and one project completed,
Yeah.
which is this.
Jose, I would say, I would do it like, I can fix complex cars. I could definitely fix your website.
Right.
Something like that.
Mhm.
Again, I don't. You built this, so
Mhm.
you're no longer aspiring.
Yep.
Give the person hiring. If you say that you want to say that this could be your first professional position, you could say that in the story that you tell during the interview, right?
Yep.
I think that's perfectly fine.
I would also, the same way that you put this website together, I would do 2 or 3 more, maybe like, as if they were for another company or something.
Yeah.
Like say you want to do small business, make one for an auto shop, whatever mechanic friends that you have, you can do a quick website like this for them, so that way you could remove aspiring and put that you make websites for businesses also. It would be something that you have done, but it's good that you have your.
And you could also say a little blurb about how I built this website. Like this website's built in HTML5, CSS, JavaScript, and React, if that's true. Or if it's not, if it's built with a WordPress or whatever, just say it. Like let's get nitty gritty and kind of say I'm skilled at these things. You can obviously see because I'm building it.
I'm sure he knows that this isn't working, but
yeah, your clients are going to click everything.
Yeah.
They're also going to look for spelling errors and all that kind of stuff.
resume as well. So, but I do think that this is a person who I have inspired to go ahead and get this
Yeah,
done.
it's a wonderful start.
So, yep, you're definitely on your way there. Just got to get these links working when you
Yeah.
get a chance. Yep. Map all your stuff and did this. Okay, I guess that goes to the back end, but yeah, that
Okay.
was our first. We could do one of those a
We
week
could. Yeah,
as
that's
well.
a good one.
Mm-hmm.
And there's. Dude, that was